Nonsense America with Eden O'Neill. Yeah.
And good morning, my beautiful America. It is Monday, November the 7th. This is Common Sense America, and I am Eden Hill. I am so glad that you have joined us this morning. This is our Veteran Tribute Week, and we have an amazing list of guests that will be coming to you live this morning and also for the rest of the week. Yes, I know. Tomorrow is election day. It is midterm election day central. And I tell you what, the polls, the early voting, the commentary from the national level to the local level, I tell you, we're going to be hearing about it all tomorrow and Wednesday. We are bringing young voices to our show tomorrow and Wednesday. And also tomorrow, I will be going to the streets of here in North Carolina to talk to the voters, to hear the voters' voices. I do live in a very red area, but we do have a lot of transplants from New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. And I'm eager to speak with so many different people. So we will be on the streets tomorrow and at the voting areas. We're going to be talking with people. But before that, I wanted to also just recognize some of our great next generation young Americans. This weekend, I got to have the honor to be with my godsons as they performed at the Swansboro High School Marching Band, and they won the championship for this area. And I'm so honored and so proud of them for all the hard work that they've put in. The Swansboro High School Marching Band, I just want to applaud you and all of your students, those who are graduating, heading on to college, and all of those who are coming up in the ranks. Well done to each and every one of you. I also wanted to recognize my dear friend's son, who also is such a patriot. His birthday was on Friday. He wanted an American flag for his birthday cake. And he also was recognized in his school for his patriotism. He loves the Blue Angels. He lives in Florida. He wants to be an aviator. This kid is solid. So, Wyatt, I want to recognize you for your patriotism, your love for this nation, and I'm so proud of you. So, on that note, we're going to be recognizing so many of our young generations, so many of our nation's veterans, and then also the next generation. We have an amazing opportunity tomorrow with midterms and also with our veterans, and this Friday being Veterans Day. Also, I want to send a quick thank you out to WHIG TV in Rocky Mount. Thank you for airing the Carolina Museum of the Marines interview on Sunday to kick off Veteran Tribute Week. Thank you to the Carolina Museum of the Marine for honoring our Marines and our sailors. And thank you to retired Sergeant Major Joe Houle and retired Brigadier General Kevin Stewart for you participating in our Veteran Tribute this week. Also, we will be having some special guests near the end of the week, and I'm excited to share those with you. But as we head in to Veteran Tribute Week, I wanted to tee off our two interviews this morning. We first have Dr. Jennifer London. She is the wife and the co-author of the book, the new book, that received a 5-star Goodreads reading from a phenomenal book author and book reviewer. I have Dr. Jennifer London. Her husband started the book Ever Vigilant. It's about leadership and legacy. She finished the book and is the co-author. She's been all over the airwaves, the radio waves, talking about her husband's legacy, and we get to hear her story today. In addition to that, we bring over to the show a POW of Vietnam, my parents' generation, Everett Alvarez. I had the honor of meeting him at the Navy Ball just about a month ago, thanks to Dr. Jennifer London. We are bringing him to the show as well. He produced a book called Chained Eagle, and Dr. Jennifer London and Everett and Tammy Alvarez have a wonderful friendship. And also her husband, the late Dr. Jack London, and Everett Alvarez had an amazing friendship, both naval aviators. So, on that note, it is my honor on this Monday, November the 7th, to bring over Dr. Jennifer London and also Everett Alvarez. Good morning and welcome to Common Sense America. It's so great to have you here on this Monday in this Veteran Tribute Week.
Good morning. Good to be here.
Good morning.
Well, I am so glad to have you both here. First and foremost, on this beautiful Monday, November the 7th, Dr. Jennifer London, I have recognized you as the co-author of Ever Vigilant, The Leadership and Legacy by the Executive Chairman of CACI, which was your husband, Dr. Jack London. I would love for you to kick off and share with us a story about your husband and how this book came to birth. I have had the opportunity to read it, and I've shared it with our listeners and our audience about the leadership and the legacy of your husband. But if you could talk about the birth of the book.
Sure, I'd be happy to. And good morning to all of your listeners. I wanted to talk a little bit about Jack's background. He was a Naval Academy graduate, class of 1959. He went on to, he was an aviator, spent 12 years in active duty. And then as a reserve officer, he took a job with a company called CACI, which was started by two people, Harry Markowitz and Herb Carr. Harry left after 5 years in 1967. And Herb continued for a while, but ultimately turned leadership over to Jack, saying, "You take care of it, Jack. I don't want to have a boss, but I don't want to be a boss." So from there, Jack spent 50 years in the company, growing it to a $5.6 billion public company, which is on the New York Stock Exchange and has about 23,000 employees around the world in about 155 countries. And so they do a lot of IT security for the federal government. They are a federal contractor, do a lot with the secure environment and intel. And so my husband wanted to write a bit of a memoir as well as how he grew the company. And he and Ev have known each other for a number of years. Both have a Navy background as aviators and went on to build companies. And I guess if I could quote a former superintendent of the Naval Academy who recently became a distinguished graduate, Ted Carter, said that people at the Naval Academy and in the Navy rise to the highest level of responsibility. And I think Jack and Ev represent those people who have taken that on. And you will see exceptional people who come out of the military. And since we're talking about veterans, they do take on that level of responsibility. They rise to the highest level of taking on, the leadership. And tomorrow, you mentioned prior about the importance of elections tomorrow. We need good role models and we need good leaders. And I think Ev and Jack represent good role models and good leaders to emulate and follow. And so I think in the book, which is called Ever Vigilant, Leadership and Legacy by the Executive Chairman of CACI. I think it's a compelling story about a kid from Oklahoma who thought he was going to work in a print shop, ultimately decided to go into the Navy, become an aviator, and build a company that is now working in 100 of our government agencies.
Yes. Let me go back to this from a personal testament. Jennifer, first and foremost, thank you for inviting me to the Navy Ball and having the opportunity to have as my dinner partner, Mr. Ev Alvarez, who's on the screen as well. It was such an honor to be surrounded by the legends. These are living legends. And I've been saying that. And seeing my friend's son who lives in Florida, he is looking up to people like Ev, to people like your late husband. He is in junior high, similar to the ages of your sons. And he has been surrounded by his father's legacy of serving in the military, his grandfather's legacy, World War II, and then also wanting to be an aviator, being surrounded by the Blue Angels. And that is a testament to this next generation seeing leaders like Ev, seeing leaders like your husband, and the legacy that they have presented. But Ev, I want to go to you for a second. I am so honored to have you here, and I am going to also hold up your book, Chained Eagle. And I've had a chance to read through some of it, but I would love to talk about you today. You got a standing ovation at the Navy Ball when we were all together at the Navy Ball. But sitting there and being able to just talk with you and your wife Tammy, and just to hear about you talking about your grandkids and your sons and the legacy that you have instilled in them. What is something that you would love to share with our next generation as they are? I know many of them are tuning in. And my other question to you is, as we head into midterms tomorrow, it's just like Jennifer and I said, we are looking for a leader, and you emulate that, and Jack emulated that. What would be words of wisdom you would say to the next generation as they seek to be leaders, as they seek to want to serve our nation, and as you emulate patriotism? What would you say to them?
Well, thank you first for having me on this morning. And it's a pleasure to see you again, and to see you too, Jennifer. Good morning. I think that Jack's book, Ever Vigilant, I had a chance to browse through it, but what I picked up is basically in talking about his biography. Jack's life is an example of, I think, to answer your question. He's written about himself in a sense. Jennifer finished this book, Ever Vigilant, but if you were to focus on those traits that make a great leader, I think the example, and if you read through his growing up, his career, how he focused and had a vision and worked hard to achieve that vision, meeting the requirements, education, the Naval Academy, and then building up his company. I would say that this is an example, I think, to young Americans on how to achieve leadership, or what to look for in a leader. The traits of integrity, personal integrity, reputation are so important. Appreciation for what our country offers. And I think that those are the key elements of what you would look for in a leader. And then as you mature and get older, understand the politics, have a good understanding of the civics as you grow up, of our government and its functions, and the goals. And as you look at the candidates, for political candidates, their goals, what they want to achieve, and then take a look at their actions. I think all of this, if you encompass it, I think this book is a good reference. And I think that you can't ask for a finer role model. And my friend Jack, we used to tease each other. We called ourselves cousins. He did a genealogy and family genealogy, and came back and said, if you go back about 400 to 500 years, I think we have a common ancestor. But that was about it. His lineal track is much different than mine. But he was a great friend. I recall how at one point I was up for the Lone Sailor Award, which is given by the Navy Memorial to individuals who have achieved certain levels of success in their careers after they have served in the Navy, Marines, or Coast Guard. And at the very last minute, like the morning of the of the day that I was to receive it, found out that the fellow who was going to introduce me wasn't going to be there. And so I called their office, to see what I should do. And to my amazement, Jack was already doing research. He'd heard about it, was doing research on me and asking, my friends and others about me so he could do the introduction himself, which he did. I mean, that's just the kind of a person he was. If you were a friend of Jack, he would do anything for you. And if you were a leader of companies and you had a good vision and you had a purposeful mission in your life, he was there to help you. It was all about his family. It was all about his values. It was all about his love for his country. And that encompasses everything that Jack was.
I'm going to tee back to you, Jennifer, because Ev left it on such a poignant note, knowing that your husband was recognized last week for 2 different awards, and one being his alma mater with United States Naval Academy. Can you talk to the 2 awards that you received for him last week, and what brought these about? Was it his leadership at CACI? Was it his leadership leading up to that? Or was it a combination of the leadership and the legacy he has left behind in regards from his time as an aviator, his time in the Naval Academy, and then leading CACI? How did those come about?
Well, there were 2 events, as you mentioned. The first event is the Technology Good Scout Award, which is given every year to someone in the technology field, a leader who basically utilized the foundation that they had built by being in the Scouts. And during that event, Jack was awarded the first Lifetime Achievement Award by Executive Mosaic, which is an organization that brings executives together from all over the country. And the CEO got up and talked about Jack, saying that this was his first, Lifetime Achievement Award that he was giving to Jack for his legacy through leadership. And he said, if Jack was on your side, you knew you were on the right side, and that he made you feel good and strong, and that Jack. So Jack wasn't just about promoting himself, even though he was a strong leader. To build a company of the size and significance of CACI, you have to have good people, and you have to be able to make them feel good about what they're doing to build a good team. So the first award was a Lifetime Achievement Award for Jack, representing and he was very involved with the Scouts. He was a Scout and a previous awardee of this Technology Good Scout Award. And so that was the first event. Interestingly, the chairman of the board of CACI, the current chairman, sent my boys, we have 3 12-year-olds, a letter after Jack passed, listing all the virtues of the Scouts and how Jack exemplified all of them. And it's a treasure that will be a great guide, and I think connection to their father for the rest of their lives. And it's something I very much appreciated. The other event, which was the partnership between CACI and the United States Naval Academy on advanced studies in the electromagnetic spectrum, is something that Jack was talking about many, many years before our security community, intel community, was talking about the vulnerabilities and the importance of EMS, the electromagnetic spectrum. Jack started a series through CACI in 2008 called his Asymmetric Threat Symposium, and every year would have rather esteemed people in the government and intel community talking about important issues and this new environment with asymmetric threat that we face around the world. Cyber became a very important issue, and the EMS, the electromagnetic spectrum, is it's a domain that transcends everything: air, space, sea, land, and cyber. And our dominance in that space is very important. If we don't dominate, then other players, other countries will come in, the most active being China.
Mhm.
But Russia has demonstrated its dexterity as well in that space by basically paralyzing countries and governments such as Estonia, Georgia, and Ukraine when prior to invading surrounding areas or those countries. So the EMS was very important to Jack, and he was, as I mentioned before the Intel community was talking about it in 2016. Jack had already started in 2000, sort of ringing the bell on the importance of our need to advance our technologies and our dominance in that space.
Yeah.
And so this award, again, this CACI, United States Naval Academy Advanced Studies in the Electromagnetic Spectrum, was in honor of Dr. Jack Philip London. And I know he would have been very pleased because it was something he wanted to focus on. The great byproduct of that is that this will really help train midshipmen to be leaders in our national security. So it's something that will transcend our next generation of leaders.
Yes. Jennifer, on that note, I wanted to pass along this next question to you and here's where it's coming from, the next generation of leaders. My husband and I sit here by Camp Lejeune Marine Corps Base, also Cherry Point Air Station, and Bogue Airfield is literally in our backyard. And we have been seeing a lot of aviators out training, lots and lots in the most recent, month. And I said to my husband, I said, what are your thoughts? He said, oh, as an Army guy, this is just normal. This is just training. And I sat there and thought, okay, my gut's telling me something else. But in that, I wanted to share with you and ask you specifically, as we look at this new generation of aviators, what are words of wisdom and advice you could give to those who are currently serving, who are in the skies right now, training, getting things ready, and always being alert? And my second question to you is this. I'm a civilian, but I'm also a veteran spouse. Jennifer's also a veteran spouse. How can we be of support to those military families and those military children as their parents are aviators or serving right now? What can we do for them?
So is that for me or for Ev?
That's for Ev. That's for Ev.
He's the aviator.
Yep.
Well, okay, thank you. I think that as you look at these young aviators in today's military, as they go through their training, I mean, it seems like it's eons since I went through the training and what have you. The developments that have come along in technology and in tactics and in weaponry and capabilities are so much advanced that I feel sometimes that in comparison, I was in an open cockpit in a bi-wing with a scarf around my neck, flowing behind me. But it seems that way. These kids have the young people. I shouldn't call them kids. They're young adults, men and women, who have the background and the training. It's amazing how much they have had under their belts as they go through the training syllabus and as they trained out in the fleets, either aboard a ship or as a Marine pilot aboard land or Air Force, what have you. They may not realize it, but that training that they're going through now it really is most important, and the syllabuses that they have are developed so to give them that capability, instant reaction like that. I didn't realize it until I first went in combat how valuable that training was, because it was just automatic instinctiveness that I went through. I found myself going through the motions and the training and in actual combat. So I would say to them that if they're focusing on, if they're doing the training and they're taking advantage of it and they will be ready.
Mhm.
Given and today's aircraft, I got to look at. I was on a F-35, which is the latest addition to our fleet aircraft. I mean, the technology is just so fantastic.
Mhm.
It's like a spaceship to me. But they will be ready. They have the equipment, they have the training, and they are very capable young men and women. So from that aspect, I have no doubt that they are the finest in the world when it comes to our defense and our military.
Mm.
And as far as the spouses, your role, Jennifer, and other spouses, both men and women,
Mhm.
uh, the fact that the person who's on the line, on the watch, the ever vigilant,
Mhm.
uh, in terms of keeping the watch, the comfort and the support that that person has from their spouse,
Mhm.
the family back home, is most important from a satisfaction and a comforting, knowing that they are okay. He's or she are out there on watch on that front line, but knowing that they are what they're protecting is what is back home
Mhm.
and the life that they have. I remember many times thinking about the family back home when I was sitting up there over the ship, and and it was comforting to know that they have the lifestyle. They live in the greatest country in the world, and it was up to me to help protect that. So, in the same sense, having that support is most important. So, from a spouse's point of view, giving that person that support, and having that knowledge is a very very important facet here.
And Jennifer, back to you. Knowing that Ever Vigilant was written for so many different audiences, but also knowing that all the proceeds of Ever Vigilant will go to military and veteran service organizations. And from a veteran spouse, I'm really grateful for that. Can you talk to the organizations that will be receiving some of the proceeds? Are there different organizations you'd like to highlight?
Sure, I'd love to. For the Navy League, the
Mhm.
Navy Memorial, the United States Naval Institute, the U.S. Naval Academy,
Mhm.
obviously a lot of the Navy organizations, which were ones that Jack supported. And basically, he says in his book, if you're going to, I'm paraphrasing, dedicate your life to growing things, you would want to sustain them after you're gone. And so
Mhm.
he wanted his legacy in those organizations to continue. Comfort
Mhm.
for America's Uniformed Services, which was designed to support our military who are coming back out of active duty,
Mhm.
the USO. I mean, there are so many organizations out there that we have contributed to and will continue to over the years. Jack has had dedicated all the proceeds from his previous books
Mhm.
to military organizations, and I'm simply, continuing that trend.
Mhm.
But if I also might add a little bit to what Ev was saying
Sure.
about aviators today. And I think this comes out in Jack's book as well. He talks about taking his flight training in Pensacola. And he said that's where he really learned to focus and concentrate. And as Ev
Mhm.
would attest to, there are no errors. There's there's no room for errors when you're in the air. And so there are things that you learn in addition to the expertise. And
Mhm.
when Jack hired people, there were four things he looked for. He looked for, first of all, attitude, and then second, integrity,
Mhm.
third, commitment, and the last thing was expertise because you
Mhm.
can train that. And I think that applies to any profession. That,
Mhm.
and again, for our young leaders, the next generation of leaders, there are intangibles that are very important to take into whatever role you play.
Right.
The other thing Jack stressed was teamwork and trust. when you're landing that plane on John Warner, Senator Warner, a friend of ours, once said he had been out and looking at an aircraft carrier from the air, and he said, "I don't understand how they could land on something that looked like a postage stamp."
Right.
So the point being that there are people that are going to be on that carrier that are helping you land, and therefore when you land, and therefore that teamwork and the trust. And he emphasizes trust. Very important in that whole process.
Mhm.
I wanted to add those intangibles.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. Two questions for, well, one statement and one question for the both of you. The statement is, Ev, we have the F-35s housed here at Cherry Point, and the Blue Angels air show was here about a year or so ago, and they were showing off the F-35s. And I have to say, it's my favorite one to this day. I absolutely love the sound of it. I love the sounds of freedom, and it is one of my favorite. And if I could live over in that hangar, I probably would. My husband has trouble pulling me away from those. But it just shows the amazing aspect of what our country can do and our military can do, and just protecting the homeland from that standpoint. It just gives you a whole new respect for those who are up in the air, for the aviators, and I'm just really grateful for them. Question to both of you, and whoever would like to go first is fine. We'll flip the coin. Thoughts? I'm going to take it a little bit later. Thoughts on Top Gun, on the newest Top Gun that came out this summer. I had to see it at least 3 times, and I would love your thoughts on the second one versus the first one. What were your initial thoughts of it coming out? And did you walk away saying, what were your thoughts as an aviator first? And then also, Jennifer, you having young boys, what were their thoughts on the movie? And did you get to take them and see it? The reason why I'm asking those questions is this. I took my sons to see it, and they absolutely loved it and walked away from it. And then I finally took my husband and said, we're going to see it again. But I realized as they released it over the summer during July 4th, Memorial Day, the whole summer, it just gave this nation a rejuvenation, an excitement of being a part of the greatest country in the world. And I think it really excited the newer generations, but also my parents' generation and my husband. We just all got very excited, and we're just so proud to see this movie come out. So, Ev, to you, what were your initial thoughts? And then Jennifer.
Well, I first when I first heard about Top Gun Maverick, I couldn't wait to see it. And when I did get the chance, we saw it at the Air and Space Museum out by Dulles Airport. I'm sorry, and it had the widescreen and capability, and I thought that the photography, that the advances in cinema scope and photography were just the shots were amazing, and so it was. I said I got to see it again also, and I did see it, and just so I could make sure that I wasn't missing some things, and I'm sure I will look to see it again. The original Top Gun, I saw at least. I mean, I watched it at least 24 times, and I think that I have an attachment to the original Top Gun because the A4 was being used by the in those seats, and I flew A4s.
Okay.
So there's a particular love for it, but I'm fascinated by the F-35 and, of course, the F-18s that were in the movie. Both those are newer generation. The squadrons that are in the fleet are the F-18s being replaced by F-35s, as I understand. You live close to Cherry Point. Yeah, that powerful engine noise.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if it keeps you awake or what, but it is something. I got to visit a West Coast base at an F-35 squadron, a training squadron. So no, I think both of them have the photography, the storyline was I think, secondary to
Yes.
the photography and
Mhm.
the advancements in movie making that was great in uh, Maverick, the second one.
Mhm. Well, I'll say one thing before we go over to Jennifer. The 35s calm me. I love the sounds of them. And so they
Uh-huh.
don't keep me up at night. Maybe our neighbors they do, but it's a very soothing sound for me. It makes me feel protected, and it's just they have a saying down here, excuse our noise. It's the sounds of freedom. Well, I say don't worry about excusing anything. It is the sounds of freedom, and I absolutely love it. And so many people love it around here because they all are retirees or active duty, so they really know what that stands for. And Jennifer, to you, what were your son's thoughts on the new movie on Maverick?
Well, interestingly, I saw the original many years ago, and
Mhm.
Jack did as well. And once when we were in San Diego, we visited the bar where many
Oh,
of the
neat.
scenes were taking place, which was a lot of fun. My children had not seen the first. They're 12 years old, and so I had them watch the first one, and we were watching on TV, on demand or whatever venue we were using. And so they watched the first one, and then the second one, and they were fascinated and excited about it, and it gave them, I think, an additional connection to their father
Mhm.
and an
Yes.
understanding of, again, as you said, the sound of freedom. I mean, these are our next great generation, I think, who have a different mission than the generations who have distinguished themselves and have come before us.
Yes.
And that's what it's all about. It's sustaining that vigilance of our freedoms and our opportunities here in America. And I think they really enjoyed it. I think they were excited about it. And one great byproduct, benefit of both the first movie and the second movie is it really increased the signing up of recruitment of folks
Yes.
into the Navy, which I think is great.
Yes.
I think that might be happening now, and I think that's a good thing
Mhm.
because it's an opportunity for younger folks to go out and see, get a taste of the military and
Mhm.
be part of that wonderful experience and the greatness, and be someone who contributes in that regard. So
Mhm.
I'm hoping that it helps with recruitment as well, because I
Mhm.
think recruitment is a bit of a challenge these
Yes.
days.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, they are saying that recruitment is the lowest since 1940, since before World War II. So, and I look at it as a couple different things. One, Veterans Day, Veterans Tribute this week, and Veterans Day coming up on Friday. I was reading an article in the Daily Signal put out by the Heritage Foundation, and they cited a couple different reasons why recruitment was so low. One, the obvious, the pullout of Afghanistan. Two, the legacy of our veterans and seeing how this next generation has seen how they have been not taken care of very well. And so they took a step back and said, is that going to be me in 10 years, 15, 20 years? And then the other is the legacy, the leadership. And behind me is my husband's picture from Iraq, is my grandfather's picture from World War II, is my father-in-law's picture as a United States Marine. And having that living legacy, are the next generations receiving that legacy from their parents, or has it skipped a generation, or are they saying to them no longer because they're afraid of what has going on at our national security level? But all of that said, from a patriotic standpoint, from a love of country, and from the standpoint of we three of us right here are three living examples of what we can inspire for the next generation. One, Jennifer, through your husband's book, Ever Vigilant, and the work that he has done, the work that you both have done. Two, Everett, through you and your wife's leadership and the work that you have done. And both of you continue to inspire. Jennifer, you coming away from the United States Naval Academy, inspiring the midshipmen as they continue on into their next duty in their service as they graduate. There are so many different ways that we can continue to inspire. And on that note, I would love just to ask you, just one final question as we end this segment. We are here at Veteran Tribute Week, and I will tell you this. Morehead City, North Carolina, which is right down the street from here, canceled for 3 years in a row their Veteran Day Parade. And we were all kind of taken back. We got it past couple years, it's COVID reasoning. But this year, it was because they just, quote, didn't have enough volunteers. And so my final statement and question to you is this. We all sit here wanting to honor our veterans, and I'm going to be determined that we're going to honor our veterans this week in the midst of a crazy election cycle. What's one statement from each of you that you would say to those who are tuning in, how we can honor our veterans this week as Veterans Day comes around the corner on Friday? Jennifer, I'll ask you first.
Sure. So Jack and I belong to an organization, as I mentioned, Comfort for Uniformed Services, and we would do an award every year for those who exemplified, the exceptional service for our military. And one year it was Ken Fisher, who started Fisher House.
Yes.
And
yes.
Ken said something I will never forget when he accepted the award and spoke. He said, when you tell somebody who's been in the service, thank you for your service, he said, thank you for your service is not enough. And so I think that's something we should keep in mind. Go beyond just saying that easy, expression of thank you. Have veterans who are neglected, who are, as you mentioned, not getting the service that they need. Ev can speak to this, having worked in the Veterans Administration, but we need to support, I think, more programs to provide services that our veterans need. And so, it is unfortunate that in some places there is no longer a sense of needing to, celebrate veterans. And it could be, as you mentioned, that there are in some places, not enough volunteers, but we all have, I think those of us that are sitting here right now have a responsibility to shine the spotlight again on our veterans.
Yes.
And what they have done. I mean, we exist today as we do with, as I mentioned earlier, the freedoms and opportunities in this country because of our veterans throughout the generations. Jack had someone from his ancestry in every single American war, starting with the Revolutionary War. And so, those are important legacies that I hope our family will continue. And so, again, I think we should think about, thank you for your service and what else we can do. And continuing to support our veterans in all the areas that they need support in.
Yes. And Everett, to you, what are your final thoughts?
Well, I'm reminded of a few speeches that I used to give to audiences, in which I would conclude by saying, you don't appreciate the freedoms that we have here in this country until you've lost it. And then as in our case, when we were imprisoned in Vietnam, it really hit home in terms of what freedoms we have, and for that we have to thank our veterans. It was our veterans that maintained that freedom for us, and so these things have to be pointed out. I think that the veterans organizations do a great job, but you see, one of the things that's happened with the veterans groups, the American Legion, VFW, Disabled America, what have you, is that they're over the period of time, the numbers are declining. And younger veterans, not all of them will join these, so that the values that we have in this country that we celebrate, like Veterans Day and what have you, I think it's a good time to really, really stress that it was these veterans that have given us the freedoms that we enjoy today, especially to our young kids. I think that's what we need to keep doing, especially also around election time here. And so I think you have a chance to do a double whammy in a way in what's happening this week.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you are correct. And I want to also just mention all the combat veterans who are running for Congress and running for Senate and those who are up for reelection. I tell you what, it's really neat to see those combat veterans taking that stand and literally coming to the forefront to run, to be a part of the House, to be a part of the Senate, to be a part of state and local, but to have them be there to really just show what it really standing for freedom, literally. I had the honor 6 years ago now to work with Congressman Brian Mast when he was running for Florida, and he was running for House, and he does not have any legs. He lost them in Afghanistan. He was an EOD specialist, and he literally ran on his legs, as he would talk about in his campaigns. But it was an honor to work with him, to hear his stories, to know the different battles that he fought, and then coming home to fight a different type of battle. And that was to run for Congress. And now he, I believe, is up again for reelection. And people like him and Dan Crenshaw and Joni Ernst from Iowa and Tammy Duckworth from Illinois. We have a whole list, and then many, many more who are running for the first time. So we're grateful to each and every one of them who are running. On that note, there was a couple other things I was going to say, and it has a lot to do more with the elections than anything, but this is primarily for our veterans. And I want to really just focus on our veterans and not only thanking them for their service, but raising the American flag. And also, I wanted to highlight finally, there is a veteran pen pal project for students to get involved with. And it's a national organization. And you can go and you can write letters to veterans and have a correspondence with them. So for all of you who are tuning in, this is Common Sense America. And we would love for you to raise your flags, say a thank you, but also write some letters and go to the different local organizations and sit down and talk with your veterans. We are grateful for them. Dr. Jennifer London, Ever Vigilant, I'm so grateful to have you here and returning to the show. I'm excited for all that what you have ahead this week, honoring your husband, honoring our veterans. And Everett Alvarez, thank you so much for your new friendship, for your service. Thank you so much for your family's service. And thank you so much for being here at Common Sense America. It has been an honor to have both of you here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. We will see you both very soon, and many blessings to you. And I'm going to go ahead and end this segment, but you guys have a great day. I give you about 10 minutes left to your, to your hour. So we will see you very soon. Many blessings to you guys. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And for all of those who are tuning in, this is Common Sense America. I am Eden Hill. Thank you so much for tuning in to our Veteran Tribute Week. We have a lot more ahead. I tell you what, we have so many great stories coming to the forefront. We had the Carolina Museum of the Marine over the weekend on WHIG TV. We will be re-airing that episode later this week, talking about the museum honoring the Marines and the sailors, talking about the Camp Lejeune area, but also talking about what is ahead with their Al Gray Institute and teaching the next generation about our veterans. And as we transition, we have about 10 minutes left until it is 10 a.m. on Monday, November the 7th. And I tell you what, I know it's been all things politics, and I know you are all probably very tired of getting the mail, looking at the campaign commercials, everything in between, but it's finally coming to a head tomorrow. And if you have not been out to vote yet, I know some states do not do early voting. North Carolina, they do early voting. I don't agree with it, so I go on election day. Just so you know, if you're here in the great state of North Carolina and if you've not voted, 6:30 a.m., the polls open. Also, my home state, Pennsylvania, I know they only do one day, and that is Tuesday. Polls open at 7 a.m. Also, keep in mind that there is going to be a lot of lines as you go out. I know early morning with people going to work, lunchtime people go in, and then evening it's going to be long lines. So just keep that in mind as you plan your day tomorrow. We will be out on the streets tomorrow interviewing talking to voters, talking to the constituents of this area. And as we are also remembering veterans this week, just keep in mind, for those who are tuning in, there are more than 9,000 veterans and military families in Carteret County alone. And as we are going to cast our ballot tomorrow for State House, for State Senate, for Congress, for United States Senate, we have some battleground elections in front of us. Pennsylvania, battleground state as well. We got Florida, we got New Hampshire, we got Arizona, we got Michigan. And so we have a lot of elections to watch, and we will be tuning in tomorrow. We will be bringing young voices to the show tomorrow and Wednesday to do campaign and post-election analysis. We have a lot to talk about during that time period. And also, we will be also featuring some specific interviews that we have been doing. We did have a couple judicial nominees. We did have a couple county commissioners, and we have had some other states come to our show, which I'm really grateful for. So we will be talking, we will be breaking it down. Also, for your morning, tomorrow morning from 6 to 9 a.m., tune in to Chris DeGaulle, 990 a.m., top rated show. Yes, he's in Philadelphia, but he is on the Salem Radio Network, and he has one of the most popular shows on morning radio in the nation. You must tune in to 990 a.m. Philadelphia tomorrow. Also, tomorrow evening for election night, Megyn Kelly's podcast will be live on YouTube. She's going to be doing a full campaign analysis of everything that's going on. So in the meantime, I'm going to take just a quick break, and then we will end the show on a real quick note of some of the things I got to see this morning, and I'm eager to share it with you. We will be right back.
It's time for Common Sense America with Eden O'Neill. Yeah. It's time for Common Sense America with Eden O'Neill.
And that was a quick break. I just have to tell you guys something. First and foremost, this morning when I was up running, yes, it was still dark. And yes, I was running in my neighborhood and it's gated and we're safe. So for right now we are. Anyway, I was up running and I was just happened to look up in the sky and I saw this big bright light. And I thought, okay, maybe it's meteor. I wasn't sure, but it was absolutely stunning. This light was absolutely stunning. Let me tell you what it was. It was the SS Sally ride. Yes, the SS Sally ride. A couple of friends posted about it this morning on social media, and then I decided to look it up. So here is what happened, and here's what I got to see this morning. It was just magnificent sky. It was this beautiful, beautiful light, and then it just went up and then went over. And I'm not doing it any justice, but it was just stunning. So this morning, the Northrop Grumman 18th contracted resupply mission to the International Space Station, they dubbed it the SS Sally ride, was scheduled to arrive at the space station tomorrow, Wednesday, November 9th. But this morning, it left from Virginia's eastern shore at 5:32 a.m. Eastern time. So I was running around 5:30 and I saw it come across the sky shortly after 5:30. Did I have enough time to go wake up my husband to show? No, because it would have been gone by then. But it was Northrop Grumman CRS-18, and it was the SS Sally ride, which is scheduled to arrive at the space station Wednesday, November the 9th. But it was coming from the Virginia Eastern Shore facility at 5:32 a.m. this morning. A couple of my friends on social media were able to capture it. It was absolutely stunning going across the sky. I had to keep running so I could watch the rest of it. But it came from Southern Virginia, and it looked like it was going, I I guess north. I don't know. No, I don't know. I'm not very good with my directional. I'm glad I'm not I wish I would have been an aviator, but I would have ended up in Jabip. So I'm not good with directions. My husband's probably watching this saying, you got the wrong location. Anyway, it was absolutely stunning. And I'm so thankful God showed me that this morning. It was just so neat. It was me and the big, beautiful sky seeing this happen. And I was so grateful to be out running this morning. Also, for all of you that tuned in on Friday for the fun episode we did on Friday, WHIG will be carrying these shows along with Beaufort County Now, also carrying these shows. And I'm so grateful to all of you and the audience at Common Sense America tuning into these shows. It has been such a joy to come to you every morning. And now every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern time, you will get to also watch on TV. WHIG TV will be carrying my shows and some of my special interviews as well. But I wanted to thank each and every one of you for tuning in on Friday as we did our first Christmas special. I cannot get over the comments and the feedback I received from so many friends and family, but also people I have never met before have been reaching out, and so many people just really appreciated the Christmas commentary we brought. Yes, it was decorating, a lot of traditions, a lot of stories, and a lot of giving back. And that's what we are here to do at Common Sense America. But at the end of the day, we are really wanting to bring you truth, talking about God, family, country, talking about our love for this country, patriotism, what this country means to us here at Common Sense America, and really exposing a lot of the truth that we don't necessarily see on legacy media. So if you would continue to follow us here on all the social channels, also engage with us at WHIDTV.com, the John Woodard Show, who's also a friend to this show, Beaufort County Now, and so many more. Also, Will Baker, thank you for the new music for the show. I'm just grateful for all of your support and what we are doing to lift this beautiful community here in Eastern North Carolina and also around the nation. We have so much to do, and so I'm excited to bring these stories to you. On that final note, I just wanted to say, get out there. Tomorrow is the big day. Tomorrow is the big day. And a good friend of mine from upstate New York sent me a clip last night. And Biden has making his rounds in all of the blue states. And he was in Bronxville, New York. I guess it was last night. That's when I got the clip. And on this final note, as a conservative Republican, a former Trump appointee, honored to serve you, honored to serve this nation. There were people, there was a crowd in the background listening to Biden speak, and they started screaming, Trump, Trump, Trump for president. And it was music to my ears to hear that. So I tell you what, tomorrow is going to be a big day for the United States of America. So be strong. Be courageous, as Governor DeSantis says, and as the Bible says, put on the full armor of God. We got a battle. So thank you to all who tuned in this morning. Thank you to Dr. Jennifer London, her powerful voice behind her husband's amazing book, Ever Vigilant. Thank you to Everett and Tammy Alvarez for their friendship, for their amazing leadership, their service to this nation. We look forward to being back with you guys tomorrow. Tune in, special election coverage. We're going to have it all breaking it down here for you tomorrow. God bless you and have a great rest of your day.